I used to work for Disney. Not in the parks, in a resort they never talk about. They called it Mowgli's Palace. It was supposed to open to the public, but they shut it down before it ever did. And when I went back, found out why. I used to work for Disney. Not in the parks, not in the studio, but in something they rarely talk about. Special projects. The kind of work where your contract comes with thick red tape, non-disclosure agreements, and instructions never to ask questions. That's how I first heard about Mowgli's Palace. It was supposed to be a luxury resort, themed after the Jungle Book, built deep in the swamps of North Carolina. Why Disney chose a mosquito-infested, flood-prone stretch of nothing for a multi-million-dollar investment, I never knew. What I do know is that they never opened it. Construction finished, staff were trained, the place was stocked, and then suddenly, without warning, abandoned. No press release, no explanation, just silence. Years later, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The curiosity ate at me. Felt like a glitch in the real world, something built and erased. So I went looking for it. It wasn't on any map, but satellite images helped. Faint outlines in the trees. A road overgrown with vines. Broken gate. Followed it. The deeper I drove, the quieter the air became. Even the insects fell silent. My tires crunched over cracked concrete, and the trees began to part, revealing something vast. There it was. The sign was still there, rusted and hanging from one chain. It read, "Welcome to Mowgli's Palace." The letters were faded, clawed at by time, but they were real. The parking lot was cracked and flooded. Weeds punched through the asphalt. Several old vehicles sat where they'd been left, tires flat, windows clouded with mildew. The kind of stillness that made it feel like everyone simply got up and walked away mid-sentence. I stepped out, and for a long moment I just stood there. It didn't feel like a resort. Felt like a grave. I made my way past the front entrance. The glass doors had been shattered. Inside was a vast lobby, floor covered in leaves, dirt, and broken ceiling tiles. The check-in desk was still there. Faded brochure rack lay face down. I flipped it over. It read, "Experience the magic of the jungle. Opening summer 1999. I was holding a lie in my hand. I moved deeper inside. The corridors were silent, but not empty. Furniture was still arranged as if expecting guests. Tables, lounge chairs. A fake waterfall in the center, now dry and choked with vines. The jungle had started to reclaim its territory. I found a wall-mounted map. Restaurants, pool, cottages, central show stage, character halls, and in the far corner, Character Prep 1. The words made my stomach twist, though I didn't know why. Checked my watch. The sky outside was starting to dim. I knew I should leave, but something made me stay. Something was pulling me toward that one forgotten door. I walked deeper into the remains of Mowgli's Palace, each step echoing through the emptiness. My flashlight flickered slightly, reacting to the damp air thick with mildew and silence. The place was falling apart, but not in the way you'd expect. It wasn't rotting. It was like it had been stopped in mid-motion. Half-peeled posters on the walls. A forgotten plush Baloo sitting upright on a bench. Even a popcorn machine in the corner with burnt kernels still stuck to the glass. The air smelled of mold and something else. Something metallic. I turned left down a hallway marked Adventure Theater. The carpet beneath my boots was soggy. Walls were scratched, like something had been clawing at them. I passed costume lockers, all of them wide open. Inside, dusty mascot heads. King Louie, Shere Khan, even Kaa. All lifeless, their painted eyes dulled. The hallway ended at a double door. A faded sign above read, "Main Stage. Do not enter without approval." Pushed it open. The main performance hall was massive, once meant to hold hundreds of guests. Now, the red curtains hung shredded and limp. The stage lights, many shattered, dangled from their cables like dead things. I climbed the creaking wooden stairs to the stage and looked out at the rows of empty seats. And that's when I saw it. At the far end, tucked between two exit doors, was another door, different from the rest. It wasn't themed like the others. It was made of rusted steel, plain and industrial. Spray painted across its surface, in uneven strokes, were 3 words. Character Prep 1. My chest tightened. I walked toward it slowly, boots crunching over broken glass. The closer I got, the colder the air became, like something had shifted. The silence turned heavier, not just quiet but listening. There was a lock, but it was broken. The door stood slightly ajar. Smell drifted out. Rotten fabric, old plastic, wet fur. Pushed it open. The room inside was pitch black. My flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing walls lined with character suits. Mickey, Donald, Goofy. All hanging limply like bodies. I stepped inside. Temperature dropped. My breath clouded in front of me. I turned slowly, passing each suit. Their faces looked wrong up close. Melted slightly. Their expressions distorted into permanent grimaces. One Mickey costume had both eyes burned black. In the far corner something moved. Just a shuffle. I pointed the light toward it. There was a single costume sitting upright on the floor, back against the wall. Mickey. Its head tilted, arms resting on its lap, as if waiting. I didn't move. Neither did it. But I could hear breathing. Not mine. The kind of breath that was low and slow, and came from inside something hollow. Then it twitched. Just a little. The head lifted half an inch. And I dropped my flashlight. The flashlight hit the ground with a dull clack, rolling toward the costume's feet. And still, it didn't move. Not really. But something inside it shifted. I heard the sound, soft and organic, like wet fabric being squeezed. I knelt down, my fingers fumbling through the dark until I found the flashlight. When I raised the beam again, the Mickey suit was closer. Only by inches. But it had moved. It was sitting more upright now. The head tilted directly at me. I stepped back. The light shook in my hands as I scanned the rest of the room. The other costumes still hung lifeless. But the walls, now that I looked closer, were scratched. Deep gouges, like something had tried to claw its way out. Or in. Behind me something creaked. Turned. The Mickey costume was standing. Motionless. Its head was tilted slightly, and in the beam of my flashlight, I saw that its eyes were not mesh, not plastic. They were just holes. Deep black voids where light didn't return. I whispered to myself, "Hello." No response. Then it took one step forward. Low. Deliberate. That's when I saw its hands. The gloves were torn at the fingertips, revealing black, rubbery skin underneath. Not foam. Not human. Something else. The costume raised one hand and pointed at me. It didn't say anything, but I heard a voice. Not from its mouth. Not from the room. From inside my head. The words were fractured, garbled like old audio tape unraveling. "You came back." I couldn't breathe. The flashlight dimmed. The suit took another step. I turned and ran. Down the hallway. Through the stage. Past the shredded curtain and out into the lobby. Everything felt wrong. Like the walls were closer. The ceiling lower. The light darker than before. But I kept running. Behind me no footsteps. No sound. But I knew. It was following. I burst through the front entrance, stumbling into the parking lot. The sky was darker now. Not from nightfall, but like a storm was hanging over only this place. I ran to my car. It wouldn't start. The battery clicked. The engine refused. I looked up. The resort building stood in the distance, silent. But at the edge of the tree line, something was watching. I couldn't see it fully. But it was wearing a head. Costume head. And it was smiling. I didn't remember getting out of the car. I just remember running again. Down a side path I hadn't seen before, lined with overgrown palm trees and broken lights dangling from rusted poles. I didn't stop. Not until I reached a side door near the back of the resort. It had been sealed once. Bolted. But the bolts now lay on the ground, scattered like teeth. The door stood open. Inside the air was different. Not just damp but still. Heavy. It smelled like plastic, oil, and blood. I stepped in. It was a maintenance corridor, but the walls were wrong, covered in faded paint of cartoon murals. Happy faces stretched too wide, colors warped by time and moisture. Mickey, Goofy, Pluto, their eyes missing. A sign above a corner turned red. Character prep room. Staff only. This was it. The place from the map. The door I should have walked away from hours ago. But I was already inside. The hallway led to a steel door. This one was intact, heavy, and locked with an old keypad. I stared at it. Then something clicked. I punched in the numbers from the brochure I found earlier. The opening date. 1-9-9-9. The light on the pad turned green. The door opened slowly, with a metallic groan. The room inside was massive, much larger than I expected. A huge concrete chamber with flickering fluorescent lights. The walls were lined with lockers, costume racks, and large industrial hampers full of ripped mascot suits. The floor was stained in places. Long dark smears that didn't look like paint. At the far end of the room, a figure stood. Back turned to me. It was Mickey. Not the one I'd seen earlier. This one was clean. Head perfectly round. Suit freshly pressed. But there was something unnatural in the way it stood. Too straight. Too balanced. Like it wasn't resting on legs at all. I stepped closer. Then it turned. But the body didn't move. Only the head rotated. Slowly, without effort, faced me. Its mouth didn't open. But a voice came from deep within. Broken. Metallic. Like an old VHS tape warped by age. "Wanna see something real?" The lights above flickered, then died. Total blackness. I heard something wet drop to the floor. Then dragging. Something heavy was coming toward me. I turned and ran, crashing into metal racks and lockers as I scrambled out of the room. My shoulder hit the doorframe hard. I didn't stop. The hallway stretched longer than before. Twisting. Warp. The cartoon murals on the walls began to move. Eyes turning. Smiles widening. Their faces stretched toward me as I ran. Somewhere behind me, that voice echoed again. "Don't leave yet." I didn't listen. I didn't look back. I don't remember how I got out of the hallway. One moment I was running. The next, I was back in the main lobby, gasping for air, palms on my knees, drenched in sweat. The silence had changed. Before it was just quiet. Now it was waiting. I looked up. The broken chandelier above the reception desk swung gently, though there was no wind. Then a footstep. Behind me. Turned slowly. There it was. The Mickey costume. But it wasn't walking. It was floating. A few inches off the ground. Arms limp at its sides. Head tilted. That smile frozen in place. Its feet made no sound, but it moved forward. 1 inch. Then another, closing the space between us with impossible stillness. I stepped back, tripping over a fallen chair. It didn't stop. When it was just a few feet away, it opened its mouth. But what came out wasn't a voice. It was a sound like tape unraveling, reversed and slowed down. Screeching yet low. Human but not. Then, somehow, I understood the words beneath the noise. "You remember now, don't you?" The voice was not from today. It was from my past. I saw flashes in my mind, of this place, of me younger, in this very resort. Construction still fresh. Staff training. Laughter. Lights. And then something else. People leaving in panic. Doors being locked. And one room, where they never opened the door again. Where something had stayed inside. Watching. Waiting. The voice continued. "They left us here." Blinked. The figure now stood directly in front of me, its mouth still open. But the voice didn't come from inside. Came from everywhere. From the walls, the floor, the ceiling, from the building itself. "Wanna see what they hid?" Its hand lifted, slowly, pointing not at me, but at my chest. I looked down. There was something in my hand. Photo. It wasn't there before. It was old, faded, edges curled, showed me, standing beside the Mickey costume, smiling. But not now. Not today. It was dated 1999. The opening date. I dropped the photo, backed away. The figure stepped forward again. And I heard it whisper one last time inside my head. They never let us leave. I didn't run. Not this time. My legs wouldn't move. The Mickey costume stood still in front of me, the air around it pulsing with something I couldn't explain. It wasn't alive. But it wasn't empty either. The lights above flickered once, then stayed on. The figure tilted its head again, slowly, too far enough to crack. Then, in one sudden motion, it reached up with both hands and gripped the edges of its head. Not like an actor taking off a costume, like something tearing off its skin. There was no resistance. With a wet, ripping sound, the head separated from the body. It didn't fall like foam or fabric. It hit the floor like something real. Heavy, solid. The echo rang through the entire building. I stared at it. The inside of the head was hollow, black. But the darkness inside seemed to move, like smoke or liquid shadow writhing silently in place. And then, the body fell too. Not collapsed. It unraveled. Like the suit had been filled with pressure and now was deflating into itself, folding inward until all that was left was a bundle of twisted fabric and those black twitching gloves. The lights dimmed, and for a moment everything stopped. I took a step forward against every instinct. I looked down at the head, stared back, not with eyes. There were no eyes anymore, just two empty holes, deep and endless. I heard it again, that whisper. Now you know. I turned and ran. No more searching. No more curiosity. Just escape. The holes twisted as I moved. Nothing made sense anymore. Stairs turned inward. Rooms repeated. Doors slammed shut before I could reach them. The building itself was changing, rejecting me. But I kept moving. Through shattered glass. Past collapsing walls. Until I saw light. The front doors. Wide open. I ran until my lungs burned. Past the gate. Into the trees. Through the swamp. And I didn't stop. Not until I reached the road. Not until the resort was miles behind me. Not until the sound of my own heartbeat drowned out the memory of that voice. But even now, even after escaping, I still hear the echo. Now you know. I never spoke about what happened. Not to anyone. Not to friends. Not to family. Not even to the people I worked with. But the nightmares came anyway. Voice. Photo. That head. All of it over and over in endless loops. A few weeks after I escaped, I tried to convince myself it wasn't real. That maybe I had imagined the whole thing. So I did what I thought would give me peace. I looked it up. Mowgli's Palace. I searched Disney archives, fan forums, employee records, construction permits. Nothing. No blueprints. No press releases. No photos. Not even rumors. It was like the place had never existed. Found one post. Buried deep on an abandoned blog from 2000. It was just one line. Don't go to the palace. It watches back. I tried to log into my old work profile from when I was under Disney contract. Access denied. I tried to recover my password. User not found. I contacted someone from HR, someone I used to know. He said there was no record of me. That I'd never worked there. That no one by my name had ever been involved in special projects. I asked about Mowgli's Palace. He paused. Then he laughed, like he thought it was a joke. But his laugh didn't sound right. It was too loud, too sudden, too forced, like someone else was watching him while he answered. Hung up. And I haven't tried again since. Now, years later, I sometimes find things I don't remember owning. A faded brochure in a drawer. Photo stuck between book pages. One time I found a glove. Too large for any normal hand. I live far from North Carolina now. I haven't set foot in that state since. But sometimes when I walk down the street at night, feel it. Something following. Something just out of sight. And sometimes, Only sometimes. When I catch a reflection in a shop window, I see it behind me, not moving, just watching, still smiling.